The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those knuckleheads of liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty. We are coming at you on August 10th, 2022. So I tell you, every time it seems like it can't get any crazier with this administration. It gets crazier. And Trump's home was just raided by the FBI. But before we get into any of that, let me introduce you to our panel. And we have a slight change today. Our Screaming Eagle Freedom couldn't be with us today, but instead, in our upper left-hand corner, we have our invisible hand, James Just. He is our behind-the-scenes guy for the show, an occasional knucklehead, and he is the chair of the Sacramento County Libertarian Party.
Which makes me more than an occasional knucklehead, by the way, Jason. Just
there you go. Okay. In our upper right-hand corner, we have Leon the Word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer from the state of California, and my name's Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. Boy, I tell you, it's crazy times. Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate was raided by the FBI, and it sounds like they haven't given a lot of specifics, but it sounds like it's all about just boxes of documents that he might have taken with him that the archives wants. And let me see if we can get a visual up for the story. So you can see here in the image, we've got looks like some FBI agents, and they're armed outside of Trump's home there, and they were apparently picking up some boxes of documents. And so let me see here if we can show some images here. So this is from the New York Post, shows some what I believe, I guess, are some FBI agents carrying out some boxes. Or let's see, it says White House staff removed from the White House in 2020. So yeah, I'm not quite sure what that's about, but anyways, and these are possibly the documents, I guess, that are being held from our.
What's that, a baseball bat?
Yeah, well, that's the crazy thing, right? As your president, you have this issue where you're actually getting, potential gifts or other things that technically, I'm not sure if you get to keep them, and all kinds of other things like that. Because you're representing the people of California, or not California, but of the United States. Yeah. So,
you're allowed to keep some of the gifts. There are certain the federal government and or our state government too. They have rules about that. They do. But I don't know if there are any rules violated here. I don't know if that's a claim, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. So anyways, so it's all pretty sketchy at this point. But at the moment, all that we really know as the public is that this is about boxes of documents that I guess the National Archives wants, and because apparently, it's they have a right to keep those documents, I guess, from each president. And so, but it's just very strange because, we had Bill and Hillary Clinton, when they left the White House, they even tried to take the China with them, and they did have to give it back, but it didn't require an FBI raid. So I'm not quite sure. And there's been other instances as well of other staff and also possibly other presidents who may have had some materials, and you just simply, you have a conversation, I guess, with attorneys, and the stuff eventually gets turned over. So this is all very strange. What do you guys think about this? This seems like are we at the point of no return with this? This is pretty crazy.
This is our walk into the land of Banana Republic, okay? Because I want you to look at something. Hillary Clinton had a very big problem with classified information just a little while ago, a few years ago. Where was the FBI raid? Did you see it? I might have missed it in the news, but I don't think I did. Hunter Biden, right now, as we speak, is under investigation for God knows how many plans, for God knows how many possible crimes, including a gun issue where he purchased a firearm and he lied on the form, as far as we know. Where's the FBI raid? Sandy Berger, who used to work for Bill Clinton, stole information from the National Archive. He destroyed some of it. Some of the classified information he destroyed. Where was the FBI raid? Don't you see what's happening here? These are political prosecutions. That's what's going on. These people intend to destroy Donald Trump. I'm not here to defend Donald Trump, but I'm here to defend an American citizen who's supposed to have rights just like everybody else. And they intend to destroy this man because they're afraid of him running in 2024. Maybe he's not playing the games that he's supposed to play as he should, but they intend to destroy him. These are nothing but political prosecution. We are now in a banana republic. And this man who's heading the our attorney general, the federal attorney general, Merrick Garland, is a lunatic. That's what he is. So maybe they'll come after me pretty soon for saying that. But this man is a lunatic. How could you raid the home of an ex-president? Okay, you don't agree with him on everything. Okay, he has some policies that are kind of crazy. I would agree, but he's an ex-president. Regardless, he's an ex-president, and you make an unannounced raid into his home. There's something wrong here. Seriously wrong.
Well, if it's the new standard, then I'm all for it. But we all know it's not a new standard. If they're going to treat all politicians like this, I'm great. Knock them out. Let's go on fishing expeditions in all these people's houses. Let's go do it. I have no problems with that. But we know it's not the standard. We know they've invented a standard just for Trump, and it's likely just because he's an outsider. It has nothing to do with Trump himself. If you want to send a message to any political outsider that you either play the game or we want you to make your life hell, they're preventing people like Trump, but someone who's more sane, from actually coming in and doing it again. What billionaire or rich person or any normal human being is going to want to run for president now? Why would they want to do it if they're going to get sent through a political ringer? Who's going to do it?
And this maybe bodes well, poorly rather, for third parties as well, because here's a guy who's supposedly a billionaire, Donald Trump, and he also has the backing, for the most part, I guess, for more or less of the Republican Party behind him. And, if this can happen to him, imagine a libertarian candidate. If, if they were to be the subject of this, what appears to be potentially a weaponized government coming to step on you if you're outside the bounds. And of course, as a libertarian, we're much more likely to be outside the bounds of what they consider normal. They're normal to the path right off the cliff, that they're taking us over with debt and war and everything else. But just imagine though. I mean, because
we're a real threat to the bureaucracy, right? That's the real. That's really what's up doing this. It's the bureaucracy is playing its games.
But the larger issue is here, though, if they will go after an ex-president, who will they go after next? Who will they? These people seem like they have unlimited power, and we're not supposed to have that in this country. Okay.
Well, they've already shown they'll go after parents, right? Parents for getting angry at your school board, you're now a domestic terrorist, right? We've seen where this is going to go. We've seen where it's going to go.
And again, it was Merrick Garland who wrote that memo, who said they should treat us as parents as domestic terrorists, okay? To investigate us as such. Just because you wanted to stand up for your child at a school board meeting, they think you have become somehow a threat to the functioning of our democracy. These people are out of control. And if we don't do something about it, we as voters in this land don't do something about this, we're going to lose our country, and we're going to lose it fast. Because if they can go after an ex-president like this, who knows where they will stop next? Who will they go after next? They will choose some Trump supporter and say he's a threat to us and go after him, make his life hell. Who is next? I don't know.
Well, it certainly seems like every week we've gone a little farther into the abyss, and we feel like, we must be near the bottom. But oh my gosh, it's this black hole, and we keep thinking we're going to touch down, and we're keep going farther and farther into it. And when you said, who are they going to go after next? Well, that kind of brings us up to our next topic, and that was these 87,000 new IRS agents. Maybe we can get the visual for that one up again. Apparently the recent Inflation Reduction Act that was passed provides for another 87,000 IRS agents out there to go out there and audit people, I guess. And it does beg the question. I mean, there's only so many billionaires, I guess, so you would think you don't need 87,000 more agents to just focus on those people. So, and it sounds like the White House is being a little bit cagey too about whether or not these people are going to be going after people who don't make as much. And keep in mind too, as we go into an inflationary spiral, which we appear to be in, it may be that the average person is making over $100,000 pretty soon. That seems to be about where. I mean, my gosh, the average house in California, I think, is over $800,000 now. So, I mean, this is just absolutely insane land that we're being taken through. Not a lot by Democrat policies, but Republicans are responsible for a little bit of this stuff too in the past. So I just. This is something where, you could find yourself very easily in the crosshairs, I suppose. Well, what do you guys think about this?
Imagine an Inflation Reduction Act, okay? Inflation reduction. When in truth, the piece of legislation inflates the number of agents, IRS agents, they're going to have, and it inflates their power to come after us. And it inflates the authority to come after us. And this is the Inflation Reduction Act. Like I said, these people are out of control, and we got to do something about it. We as voters, we as citizens of this great land, we have to do something about this. Otherwise, you're going to lose our country. The IRS is already too powerful of a government agency. I mean, anytime you get a piece of mail from the IRS, you look at it and you wonder, oh my God, what's going to happen? They're going to audit me. They're going to come after me. What? You read it and you're already terrified just because it's the IRS. And now they're expanding their powers and authority. That's what they're doing. They're expanding the authority. So what's next?
Leon, thank goodness they only called it the Reduction Act and they didn't just call it the War on Inflation, because then we know we'd all be doomed if that were the case. Just never-ending inflation.
Well, we know they have a war on taxpayers because that's the reason their budgets were limited before. I mean, Democrats complaining about how the IRS budgets were limited for tax enforcement, but they don't mention that the reason their IRS budgets were limited before was because that they were abusing poor taxpayers. They weren't going after the rich. They were abusing poor taxpayers, so they limited their budget. So what they do? They went after poor taxpayers again. And now they're going to give them more agents and more money to go after people. Well, I don't care. The people that at the top can want anything they want, but the people at the bottom are going to go after what makes their job, what hits their performance goals. And you're not going to hit your performance goals if you're going after billionaires and millionaires who can fight back. You're going to hit your performance goals by going after the people who can't. That's just the way the system's set up, right? In order to hit your goals, just like it's like a traffic cop. They're essentially no different than a traffic cop who has to meet their daily or monthly quota. And where's your monthly quota going to get set out? Parked outside of a school, right before and right after school runs out, right? That's where you're going to park. That's where you're going to sit to get your tickets. And it's no different. They're going to go after the low-hanging fruit. The low-hanging fruit is gig workers, which you've already seen them. They've seen them attack freelancers, anybody who's small business owners. That's where they're going after. And you and me sending money to each other through Vimo. They've already set that up where they're tracking that. So they've already put the systems in place to attack poor and working class people. And they're setting up the enforcement arm right now. It's just.
But the whole point is at the end of the day, James and Jason, we are American citizens, okay? And we have certain amount of rights granted by God and granted by our Constitution, okay? And we have to protect ourselves against these people, okay? We have to use the courts or whatever we have to do, but we have to protect ourselves against these people because it was intended that we'll have a limited government. And what is going on right now is that we're having a government with unlimited powers and unlimited authority. That is not the republic the founders intended. And we're on a very, very scary path right now. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Leon. I agree. And it is up to us to stand up as, individuals and get to work and, vote properly.
Yes.
Really, that's where it starts. Show up and vote properly, right? That's all we can
We
really
need
do.
we need more liberty-minded people in government. That's what we need.
Or maybe less government, and those people who are in government maybe just a little more liberty minded as well.
It's true. Okay. I will accept that, Jason. I will accept that.
Yeah. As far because I seriously doubt those 87,000 IRS agents are all going to be liberty minded individuals that are now headed into government.
No, they're going to be people who are trying to rescue themselves from any inflation, and so they're that's what they're going to be. They're just going to be average people like you and me and everybody else, just trying to make a
Yes.
living.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Well, speaking of who the government is turning their sights on next, and we've talked a little bit about school boards and such, but this is kind of disturbing. And Reason had an article out that talked about the FBI has put out a memo that talks about targeting people, I guess, look like they have. I guess icons or imagery, whatever, that might be anti-government, and suddenly that labeling them as maybe violent extremists. I guess if they see that, and boy, isn't that scary? And of course, a lot of these are images that may venerate even the founding fathers, which I guess now are violent extremists in the eyes of our FBI. And it almost sounds like the FBI now are a bunch of redcoats working for King George, trying to collect taxes. Oh no. Well, what do you guys think about this? I mean, this is pretty scary, that they're using imagery that's near and dear to liberty-minded people, and saying that they're the enemy, essentially.
Well,
But you see
you've got
now,
this. You have the bureaucracy calling the people who pay their salaries, enemies. I mean, just
yes,
think about it. Does the
yes,
bureaucracy has a war on people? It just does. I don't know
but
how. Maybe Leon's got a deeper explanation on that one, but it's just kind of simple to me. There's the bureaucracy has a war on people, a war on citizens.
yeah, but you see, this is the problem. These people do not believe that they have to follow the tenets of our constitution. I mean, most of what we're talking about here are free speech items. Something about whatever you want to put on a T-shirt or whether you want to display a flag. It's all protected speech, and they're trying to tell us these are acts of terrorism, or acts of an extremist. But these are all protected speech. The only thing that we know that is not protected is if you're trying to incite violence of some kind. That is not protected, obviously. Or we can't go in a crowded theater and shout fire. We know those things are not protected. But all of these things, the flag or something on your shirt or whatever or some organization you belong to, these are freedom of association and protected speech. But these people do not believe that they have to follow the tenets of the Constitution. They have to define who an extremist is, and then they have to go after him. It go back to the first topic we were talking about. Who will be next? They're going to define some Trump supporter or some one of us as an extremist, and they'll think they could go after us, regardless of the fact that we are supposed to be protected by our Constitution. And this is where these people are just going off the rails. The hands of the FBI are turning up in too many dirty things. We spoke about this before. The Greta Whitmire fake kidnapping, the Trump Russia collusion nonsense, and on the list go. And now we have the raid and the Mar-a-Lago raid. All of it shows one thing. The FBI is turning up in too many dirty acts in the United States. And we got to be careful about it. This is supposed to be law enforcement. What are we talking about here? If we are not in a constitutional republic, then where are we? Where?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think isn't this sort of an inevitable outcome though of gargantuan growth of government? I mean, you start getting so many ridiculous laws, you get these massive agencies that have more and more things that they have to regulate, and in the end, I think this is almost inevitable that you're going to wind up having more and more things to police the citizens over, and quite frankly, I think that's a big part of the reason we're so divided as a country right now. I mean, government is in every aspect of our lives, and it's like if you vote for these things every few years, maybe, and when you win or well, whatever the outcome is at the polls, it's either one side sort of wins on everything or they lose on everything, and at least that's the way I think a lot of people feel, and inevitably that's just sort of the way when you just keep making government bigger and bigger. What do you guys think? I mean, is this just sort of something that's just inevitable when government just gets to be huge?
Well, we've got a political party that is essentially views the government as the religion. We've seen the way they responded to January 6th. Their temple was attacked, right? Sacred ground. They literally called it their sacred ground was attacked. They view these things as their temple. And
people like AOC and Pelosi as their priests.
And when you're dealing with that for these people, well, you're attacking our religion, so you must, damn the blasphemers, right? It's the same thing. It really is the same thing. Purge the blasphemers, you blasphemer, right? It's the same thing. We've gone way over the edge, and now they have an enforcement arm. It's like the old Catholic churches sending out I'm escaping. The name's escaping me right now. Leon's going to kill me.
The Inquisition or something?
Yeah. Oh, they're sending off the enforcement guys. I know the name, and it's going to, in an hour, it's going to come to me, and I'm going to feel terrible.
30 lashes.
30 lashes for that, James.
The self-flagging guys go self-flag me for a while. But the point is that, we might as well be a witch in Salem, witch trials, right? If you're a liberty-minded person, you're a witch. Yeah. You're a witch. Yeah. And what do? Well, I'm not hurting anybody. I'm just sitting here. And so, well, you're violent because you have that flag. Because you have a "Don't tread on me" flag. You're now violent. Yep. Yes. Words of violence now, right? That's what they said.
You're an extremist. You're an extremist.
No, you're not just an extremist, Leon. You're a violent extremist.
Violent extremist, exactly. Yeah. But something here, though. Look at what is happening. Jason, you just raised the issue of this gigantic government. But look at what is happening. Too many citizens can live their lives, their normal daily lives, and they can break the law without even knowing it. Mm-hmm. Because of the fact government have grown so much. There are laws that regulate so much of our lives now at the local level, state level, and of course the federal level, which is probably the worst. You can live your life, a normal life, without even trying to break the law, but you could end up breaking the law because there are rules regulating so much of our lives. So we got to be careful here. How big are we going to let this government become? Yeah. Are they going to squeeze our liberties all to nothing before we start to say, oops, we got a problem? No, we got a problem right now. We got to start looking at where our liberties are going and what we're going to do about it.
A decade ago, some guy wrote a book. 3 felonies a day? The average person commits 3 felonies a day.
Yeah, you see, there you go.
Well, and that's the problem. Hey, this is the problem too. I mean, the government gets big and complex, and it's very difficult for the average person to be able to keep up with it all. Only those concentrated interests really can spend the time making sure they understand it all, and that's why our tax code, quite frankly, is so complex. But yes. As we get near the end of the show, before we get to Knucklehead Noise Patrol, I just wanted to mention too, and this is sort of related, but I was at a conference this last weekend, and it was also related to a lot of young extremists, extreme in the sense of liberty. And of course, extremism in the sense of in defense of liberty is no vice. And so and I'm wearing a T-shirt right now from that group. And it's Young Americans for Liberty. They had their Revolution 2022. And so that was, they had Ron Paul there and Tulsi Gabbard and quite a few other liberty-minded people as well speaking, Spike Cohen, Dave Smith. So anyways, but we will be having some people who attended that, hopefully in the future, to as guests on the show. We were hoping to get some people as well who organized that event as well on the show. But this is, quite frankly, these types of gatherings and these types of groupings are how we're going to resist this growth of government. And it's really great to see an organization that's really got their finger on the pulse of the youth to try and get them jazzed up for liberty as well.
Indeed.
So I guess a shout out for Young Americans for Liberty.
Liberty, the expression of a liberty is what is going to save us. Okay, none of this government BS is going to save us. It's liberty. Our own liberties is what is going to save us.
Yeah. So, well, anyways, it's about time for our Knucklehead Noise Patrol. So let me bring up the image for this. And so I guess, in about a speech that was given a couple days ago by Chuck Schumer, apparently he actually went to shake Biden's hand, and then within 5 seconds, Biden had forgotten that his hand had been shaken. And so he sticks his hand back out and leaves it hanging there for a handshake. And so I just got to kind of describe it for the audience, because we're going to show the video here. But just for those of you who may be on audio podcast only. So essentially what we're seeing here is Chuck Schumer has just finished giving a talk at the White House. He shook Biden's hand first, then he went on to shake 3 other people. Biden sticks his hand out waiting for another handshake. And it just left hanging there by Schumer, who already shook his hand. But this is literally who's leading us. And I mean, we've seen a gazillion episodes of this. This guy is clearly not fit to be president. Well, what do you guys think? This is just.
Yes,
it's actually uncomfortable to watch. It's uncomfortable to watch.
Well, for those watching, let's watch it again.
I mean, don't these people have enough sense to hide them in the basement? Like, what the hell?
This man, I've lost so much of his cognitive abilities. I am afraid we might get up one morning and we're going to be at war with Canada or something, because he might think they're the enemy. I don't know. This half-senile man beat a sitting president, okay? He won an election over a sitting president. I mean, this is a very uncommon thing to happen in American politics. And yet we have this man. This is the man who's leading us, okay? I think you said it all, Jason. This man is not fit to be president, okay? I mean, we could laugh about all this, but this is serious crap, man. This is really serious crap. This man can't remember. I wonder if he remember his name sometime, or even if he know he's president. Does he know he's president? Do you think? I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah. Well, the most serious part of all this, too, is the snow job that the press is giving on covering for him and his mental gaffes. But unfortunately, they can't cover for the reality of what he's doing to the country and the economy. But unfortunately, that's all the time we have on our show today. So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you at the next one. Until then, stay free.
Indeed. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.